This is Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley. I'm the fellow who has a hyphen in my name. The hyphen is silent, but I am anything but that. This message is called corrosion and erosion. Those are two words that we hear in the environmental milieu. We hear people talking about how a shoreline has been eroded, and we talk about how things have become corroded. It might be a building structure, for example, that has become corroded by salt. This is Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley. I am your voice of Respectonomics, and we are starting on this new series called The Living Asset. The living asset is, of course, the human being. And what we want to demonstrate today is, and talk about, is the differences between erosion and corrosion and how they can affect our lives. I'll give you an example of erosion. Erosion may occur when there's a stand of trees that are cut down. And there can be all kinds of reasons for doing it. But the risk we run when we cut down a stand of trees is that we then have erosion, because the water then is for example, from a storm, the ice, the snow, no longer has a natural barrier. So it comes in and it starts eroding the land around it. We see that, do we not? And beaches, when they've taken up the shrubs and the grasses around it. And when we do that, we stand the risk of erosion. We talk about a stand of trees. What if we instead of calling it a stand of trees, we call it standards? That if we erode, if we take away certain standards, we run the risk of eroding our lives. Our lives consisting, of course, of the body and the mind, the soul, the spirit, the character, but we run the risk of erosion when we start reducing or taking away standards. That's the erosion part. The corrosion part is where we are exposed to toxic materials. We talked about how a steel building, for example, can be corroded as a result of salt or something in the atmosphere that eats away or corrodes the substance. And we need to think about what are those influences in our lives that actually corrode our performance, corrode our vitality, corrode our energy. Corrosion is dangerous because it weakens the footings, it weakens our foundations. Erosion is another way of looking at it, in the sense that when we take away our defense mechanisms, we expose ourselves to other forces. And what this all comes down to is, whatever steps we're taking, whether we're in a family situation, a business, political, whatever it be, the question that we can ask is that activity, that change, likely to be one that erodes our lifestyle? Or is it one that may also corrode our lifestyle? They can be both. And the answer is that when we think of erosion and corrosion, we also should be thinking about protection and preservation. We need to be thinking about, how do we protect our lives? How do we protect our integrity? How do we protect our prosperity? We should be thinking about all of these things. I don't think there's a clear one-line answer. I think we should also be talking about, how do we preserve? If we talk to any environmentalist, anyone who's involved in understanding climate influences and changes and so on, words like preservation and protection are foremost. What we're saying here is, let's look at protection, let us look at preservation, not only from the point of view of the environment, but also from the standards by which we operate our lives. And we're talking here, of course, about our morality. We're talking about the essence and ways we conduct our business, the relationships we have. So whether the relationship is corporate, political, personal, family, social, or community, the answer is, we need to bring to the table a question. Is this new way of looking at it, or in fact the way we're doing it, is it something that is going to erode our lifestyle, or is it going to corrode our lifestyle? Or what we aim for and what we seek for Is it something that an action, an activity, a change that will protect our lifestyle, protect our families, protect our relationships, or is it one that will also allow us to be operating under the principle of preservation? Preservation and protection, erosion or corrosion. Whatever steps we take, whatever actions we take, whether they be cultural, whether they be political, whether they be financial, whatever steps we take, let us ask this one question. Is it eroding, or is it corroding, or is it protecting, or is it preserving? It's a very personal decision. There's no one line answer. But the one thing we say about living assets is this, that when we are living assets, we think in terms of what is it that will allow that asset to be protected and be preserved. That is the obligation that we have mutually to one another, reciprocally, life to life. And it is, in fact, the underpinning of respectonomics that we aim, our proposal is to restore the dignity of the human being. And that sense of restoration, of course, builds into itself a combination of protection and preservation. So, whatever actions we take, let us be sure that that's the way they're aiming and that's the way they're going to succeed. And that in itself will then allow us to produce a foundation of hope, a foundation of prosperity, and a future of reliability and resilience. My name is Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley. I'm your voice of Respectonomics, and I rest my case.